Let me tell you something you already know.
I'm Dave Kirilloff, and I'm going to talk about hitting. I'm a big fan of the collegiate baseball publication, and years ago they profiled a book called Talent Is Overrated by Geoff Colvin. Geoff Colvin is the senior editor of Fortune magazine. Very briefly, Mr. Colvin's study and research of world-class athletes and just basically world-class performers was a prelude to other books that would follow, and he discussed the 10,000 hour rule. And just a quick summary, the 10,000 hour rule is this. In his research, he discovered that if you're going to be a world-class performer, athlete, musician, whatever it is, to achieve a high-level success, you're going to invest 10,000 hours of your time into training. But it's not just your common training. He classified it as deliberate, disciplined training. Now, the reason why I'm bringing up Geoff Colvin again is because Collegiate Baseball Publication, it has a new article featuring his work. Now, one of the key quotes that grabbed my attention as a baseball coach, as an instructor, as a teacher, is this one. Mr. Colvin is quoted as saying this, quote, "I have found that every great performer has a moment when motivation becomes internalized. The performer is no longer practicing hard because his parents are making him do it. It becomes his own quest, his own pursuit." End quote. He said it becomes the performer's own quest and own pursuit. I prefer to believe that when we're training our athletes, much like these subjects that Mr. Colvin has studied, when they have an interest in being deliberate with their practice, that they realize to achieve this quest and attain this, what they're pursuing, when they go about it with deliberate, intentional, purpose-filled practice, that's when they begin to have a connection with their quest and pursuit and their goals. And very humbly and modestly speaking, with 27 years of coaching, teaching, researching experience, I found that my colleagues in this profession sometimes, no, more often than sometimes, a lot of times, have more desire for the quest, have more desire for the pursuit than the actual performer, than the actual athlete. I've seen it in numerous instances where the coach is more passionate about the player's development than the player himself or herself is. And this really is a challenge for a coach to inspire the players to want it, to pursue it, to make it a quest, to learn, to research, to dig in. And where do they dig in? Where do they research? During the game? Possibility, yeah. The true research happens at practice. And that's one of his next points, is that you practice with intensity, with deliberate actions, with purpose-filled thoughts, and you're testing things out as you practice, and you see the results. I have an hypothesis. Let me try this, and let me see what the results are. When you have the coach that has this mindset, and you merge in with players who have similar mindsets, boy howdy, you have a hot laboratory. You have a great fertile field to research and develop and find and discover new things. Something else that Colvin addresses is this about there is a tremendous amount of undisciplined practice taking place across the world in different disciplines. He goes on to say it is the most common thing in every sport or activity. People tend to do what they can already do and do just that over and over because it is rewarding and feels good. You get to see some pleasant results. Those people don't get much better. The best are always focused on what they can't do well. There is research on this. If you look at figure skaters, the mediocre ones spend time practicing jumps they can already do quite well. The best figure skaters are the best because they spend most of their time practicing jumps they really can't do yet. They are constantly pushing the envelope. It is the same in baseball or softball. Ball players must try to hone their skills so they are better in areas which they need improvement. Now, Mr. Colvin goes on to explain this, and I believe there's a connection to his next thought process as to why players don't have deliberate, intent, purpose-filled practice. Here it is. Okay, he goes on to say this, quote, "It is also important to point out that nobody can work hard on their discipline for a tremendous length of time straight. It's not only because of the physical constraints, there are mental constraints involved, and coaches must understand this. A player must focus very hard on learning or improving a skill. After a certain amount of time, whether that is 30 minutes or longer, you need a rest. Then you can come back to it. The mental exhaustion is at least as important as the physical exhaustion." Let me unfold something for you. When you're training with deliberate training, you have intent and you're purpose-filled. Guess what? You're thinking as you're training. You are thinking as you train. It's obvious the physical exertion of energy and your muscles are moving, your body's moving. The physicality of it is tiring, but a lot of people miscalculate how tiring it is to think. And that is what separates the world-class performers from the mediocre, the average, the people who just miss it. You see, the world-class people, have so much intent for their quest and their pursuit. They'll push through that wall where they get tired of thinking to discover something that other people can't tap into. And what the world-class performers tap into is another layer inside their brain. It's a certain switch. Some athletes can define and discuss what that switch is. Others say, you know what, I just go by feel. But they know how to get to that switch. They know how to turn that switch on. And you know why they know how to turn it on? It's because they practice with deliberate practice, with intent and purpose-filled plans when they executed their practice sessions. I'll never forget, I had a college player. I was on tour in Florida, and I was teaching the player, the hitter, about timed hitting perception, about how he has to time his eyes to pick up the ball at a certain location, and when he's going to pick up the ball at a certain location, and how he's going to, use his body in a countering position, and how he has to master how to get his eye in position when his limbs and his body is getting into this countering position, all in turn when he's watching the pitcher. I mean, it sounds complex, which it is, but when I explain it to him, I shrink it down into very small, delicate, sensitive pieces. And after 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes of intense training to understand the delicacy of timing the vision and picking the ball early in the flight path and understanding how the sensitivity of spatial awareness works, he says to me, Coach Dave, man, I'm telling you what, I'm not kidding you, but I'm tired. I'm physically tired of thinking. He says, I don't know what's worse. Is me sitting down and doing 3, 4, 5 minutes of straight math work, or doing what you're asking me to do right now? So with this word picture, it validates what Mr. Geoff Colvin is talking about. You become not just physically tired, but you become mentally tired because your brain is always turned on while you're training. You're analyzing. You're testing out your hypothesis, and you're trying to realize, okay, am I testing my hypothesis accurately, or did I just mess it up a little bit? Let me wrap things up with this. The reason why I want you to understand why Geoff Colvin is so important is because his concepts have influenced me. All right? Now, since he has influenced me, he's also influenced you. You see, my fingerprints are on you, and more than you realize, so are the fingerprints of Mr. Geoff Colvin. With that being said, I have a wonderful new online hitting instruction series that you can get online. You order it, you stream it, and you can get it immediately. It is my 5.0 best hitting drill ever video series. One of the main reasons why I'm excited about the 5.0 video series is this. In prior video series, I explained to the audience how important it is to master your spatial awareness. But in this video series, the 5.0, I start an introductory pathway to help you as a coach, to help you as a hitter, to learn how to effectively pick up the ball earlier in the flight path. Now, this is why it's important, because this concept. Hitting, most people will agree, is a reactionary event. I'm reacting to something that I see. I want to learn how to effectively put myself in a good position to make this reaction. To get myself in position, I need to understand the importance of my eyes and my brain. What's going on for me to get a good reaction is this. My brain needs to capture information and data about the ball. In order to get that information accurately to my brain, I gotta time my eyes. Let me tell you that one more time. I have to time my eyes. The 5.0 video series, I give you an introduction of how to do that. Believe me, there is a lot involved with this process. And I start you along the way. This is the starting point to understand how to time your vision more accurately. I'm Dave Kirilloff. May the Lord Jesus Christ bless your life.
First base, number 19, Alex Kirilloff.